Hello, 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 hello. Welcome again to another episode of Your Words, Your Voice. I am the host, James Hopkins, and my co-host, Mr. Zion Washington. And our special guest today is none other than Miss Felicia Marshall with Grant Me Justice. And let's not forget our second co-host, Mr. Bully. Bully said, don't forget about him today. We're not going to forget about you, but we have a special guest, Miss Felicia Marshall. And she has done a lot of great things around this city, around this community, around this state, and around this country. Miss Felicia Marshall, let's start out first by just asking you, aside from the things that you do in with your nonprofit and your book and whatnot, who is Miss Felicia Marshall?
Well, I am married. My husband, we've been married for 25 years. I have two other children, a son and a daughter. I love being with my grandchildren. I love to fish. I love to design, and I'm just a passionate person. I just love serving people.
Okay, you love serving people. How long have you been into serving? Is it something that you were just doing, like since a child, you've always wanted to just help people and serve people? Or is it just something that, that you grew into? Did you see somebody serving and say, hey, I want to be a part of something like that?
I think my background, my grandmother used to travel around our community, and she would mow the yard or whatever someone needed. My grandmother was that. And I think as a child, watching her do that probably formed my foundation. However, I didn't come into saving knowledge of the Lord until 2000, 1999, 2000. Mm-hmm. So then I acquired, I think, a love for serving people.
Okay. Yeah, serving is great. I have a nonprofit, Reset Jackson, as you know. Mm-hmm. And there's something about serving others that does something to you. Even when you're feeling down, mm-hmm. something about making other people feel good that makes you feel good. And I always encourage people, when you can help somebody, help somebody. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't cost a lot. A lot of times you can help people without even spending a dime, mm-hmm. because sometimes just a word, just a good positive word, mm-hmm. Can make a difference in somebody's day or even in somebody's life. So anytime you had the opportunity, serve somebody, even if it's just through, good faith and good words. And so talking about serving, and now I want to get into your nonprofit that you have, Grant Me Justice. Tell us a little bit about Grant Me Justice. Well, let's just tell me how it got started first before you get into the details of it.
I was just thinking today, March 8th will be our 5th year, and I'm just going back and looking at some of the things that happened. But I never thought that this would be what I would be doing. This would not be my choice. Uh-huh. And my daughter was murdered in March of 2017, and went through that criminal justice process, and felt like I had left something on the table. But I also felt like there were probably other people like me. And so my goal was to go out and interview these people, find them, and start a little Facebook group, and that would be what I would be doing. But the first one changed everything. It changed everything about what I thought that I would be doing. Uh-huh. And that was the Abram family, and they had found their son with 2 gunshot wounds to the head. Wow. And just sitting there with them and watching this husband and wife battle with their grief as believers, and just listening to the mom talk so intently about her son, and he had dimples, and we went to the gravesite, and to watch them walk through that process, I knew that I was participating in something much bigger than me. And I knew when I left there that it wasn't grant me justice at that particular time, but I knew whatever this thing that I was participating in would be bigger than I ever thought.
Right.
And the one thing that I knew when I left there was counseling. Anybody that can witness just think about the damage that was left behind. And the mom talked about, trying to, the funeral home had to try to put the head back together, all of that.
Right.
And just imagine what that was like for both of them. The dad found him, actually took him out of one vehicle, put him in another, drove him to the hospital, which was about 10, 15 miles away. And he said that he talked to him the whole way. Just think about the gravity of that.
What?
That he talked to him the entire way. And one of the things that I always remember Mr. Abrams saying was, my heart was broken. My heart was broken. And who would do this thing to my child? He was only 21 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He was a baseball player. Because my thing was just trying to figure out who they are. I just wanted people to know who my daughter was.
Right.
And so my goal at that particular time was just trying to get families or moms to tell people about their children. Mm-hmm. And so that was how my interview went, was just me trying to get her to just tell me about it.
Right.
And it changed my life. It changed my life for the better. And I thank God every day that He allowed me. And I want to say this crazy because, whenever we experience something like this, it's a terrible thing.
Right.
But this terrible thing has brought me into the will of God. And I would not be able to serve people in the way that I do had I not experienced this thing like they have.
Right.
I can sit in a room with families that have lost loved ones to homicide, and I know a little bit about how they feel. Of course, I love for our family members are different, but I know what it's like to get the call. I know what it's like to show up at a crime scene. I know what it's like to view a body, and all of the pieces and parts to that. That's how it got started.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And you are familiar with the fact that I've lost my sister.
No.
I thought we had. I'm sorry. No. Yeah, I lost my sister to gun violence in Jackson. And we were fortunate enough to know who did it. When it happened, it was an ex that did it. Mm-hmm. But something about the call, the call, that call from that moment on, it changes your life completely. You get calls every day, but when you get that call, it never goes away. You never forget the words. You never forget who made the call. You never forget what they said and how they said it. So, yeah, that's definitely, that's something that sticks with you. And I think it's great, that you're reaching out to other families and, just giving them a shoulder to cry on. So that's how it got started. Now, tell me more about exactly what you do with Grant Me Justice.
I've had to, many people think that we are a group. We're a group. We're just a group of people that kind of like just hang out, or we're in this thing or this club. But part of what Grant Me Justice does, we have a support group, and that is a group, a support group. We have a support group for both men and women. Our women's group is called Just Her Healing, and our men's group is called Just Men Gathering. And these are for men and women who have been impacted by homicide. But we provide resources. We are the only organization that I am aware of that provide the resources that we do for our families. And we've been doing this since day one. The first thing that we did was we knew that counseling would have to be a part of what we do. We actually have 3 arms of Grant Me Justice. So one is advocacy, and that's preparing people for the courtroom and at home. We advocate not only in the home, but also in the courtroom, because when I went through the system, I thought the state of Mississippi would represent me. And I found out that the state of Mississippi represents the state of Mississippi, and so they don't act on my behalf.
Right.
The people that were responsible were 3 people that were convicted, were given plea deals. One received 15 years, one 12, one 5.
Wow.
But only served 2.5 years.
Wow.
And so just the part of just preparing people when they get ready to go in the courtroom. But what I've learned, at least with the families that we have come in contact with, that never happens. Many times going to court just doesn't happen.
No.
Even in the case of the Abrams, it's been 8 years and no one has been arrested.
Wow.
So advocacy and then awareness, that's just making sure that the community is aware of the impacts of homicide. For every one homicide, it affects 6 to 10 people for every
Right.
one, which means that there are a lot of people affected by all of the 800 murders, over
Right.
800 murders since Grammy Justice has been in existence. There are a lot of people, right, affected by that.
Right. And
And then the last part is allies or direct service. We provide everything from utilities to rental. We've helped with burial costs. We bought tires. So we try to be a safe place and a connection for all families that have been impacted by homicide. Of course, that's as funds are available for those things, but we do our very best to take care, especially our core families that we work with every day.
Okay.
Well, it seems like you've been doing a lot for the community, especially those that have been affected by family members they might have lost to homicide. So kind of diving into that, I know you lost your daughter, Alexia, on, I believe it was March 14th, 2017. And so my question to you is, can you just walk us through that immediate process that when you got that phone call, when you found out that news, how did it make you feel and how did it internalize you? Because you're so strong, and I know it takes a lot to help other people, but how did it directly affect you?
Remembering the call, the first word that I can think of is helplessness, because you get this call and you don't know what you're gonna see. It's nothing that you've experienced before, right?
Right.
And so you don't know what to do with all of the things that you feel. The fact that you don't know yet. Although
Right.
you've gotten this call, you still want to see. Just all of the uncertainties, and then once you realize, I still remember the words from the Jackson Police Department.
Mm-hmm.
We, the members of the Jackson Police Department,
Mm-hmm.
would like to announce that your daughter is deceased.
Wow.
We vow to do everything that we can to hold those responsible for this heinous crime.
Wow.
I remember the crime scene tape. That's something I never forget. I'll never forget the blue lights. I'll never forget walking away knowing that my life had changed. And then although I was a believer, I'll never forget how far away from God I felt. That God could have stopped this, but he didn't. And I wanted
Right.
to know why. I was angry. Not angry at the people, I don't think. I think I was more so angry at the Lord, because
Right.
my faith was in him, and
Right.
every part of that was shaken. I worked at a church at the time with pastors, and I worked in the office. I was a church administrator, and I walked in there every day angry. And but in that, I asked the Lord, I said, how can you turn this out for my good? How can my daughter's murder
Right.
be used for my good? And that was my question, one of my questions. My second question was, I wanted to know whether my daughter was saved, whether she was in heaven or whether she wasn't. I know my daughter had struggles. I knew my daughter had accepted Christ. But there's a different ideologies about that, whether you're saved and always saved, or whether you
Right.
can be plucked out of his hands, all of those things.
Right.
But I remember like I said, when I went to the first one, like that was a struggle up until like a year afterwards. It was a year before the first case. So I had a lot of time to just think, you know. And then once the cases started, it was just a roller coaster ride of going to court, you know, because there were 3 people. So I had
Right.
3 different cases.
So
And,
they were tried together.
No, they weren't trying together. And so I had 3 different cases. And I remember going before the judges and how defeated I felt because I went before the judges and I cried. Sometimes I couldn't even stand. I cried so hard, trying to explain to them how much I love my baby and what I had lost.
Right.
And even looking into their eyes and them telling me, well, I have the right to accept or deny this plea. But still they accept the plea. And I'm saying,
Right.
how can you do that after I put my soul out?
Right.
And so it was very hard at the beginning. But then once I got past my 2 questions, and the first one was, once I was able to see this thing working out for my good, and how that looked. It didn't look like how I thought it would look. But just being in the presence of these families, I really, really count myself so blessed. It's such an honor to be in the presence of some incredible men and women who have lost their loved ones to violence. And when I'm in their spaces, I don't see myself many times as one that has lost. I see myself as one that has gained so much. And I wouldn't want to change it. I love my baby, and but my hope is blessed in that I believe I'll see my baby again. And until then, I got work to do. And so I'm just excited and so grateful that the Lord would choose me out of all the people in the world that he could choose to do the work for the brokenhearted. He said he's close to the brokenhearted.
Right.
And so he's near, he's there. And for all of the people he could have chosen to do that, he chose me. I count it an honor.
Okay, that's great.
And I just want to kind of talk about it because you mentioned you lost a lot, and when we talk about these certain topics, you know, we often talk about how much we dealt with after, but I just want to focus on some good aspects of your life that you might have had. You know, what was your career like? What was your relationships like, and what was everything like before the unfortunate passing of your daughter? And I know you mentioned you lost a lot, so can we talk about that?
I was working. I have been working for. I've owned several businesses, which I had a couple of businesses going at the time. But I was working for Redeemer Church, which is on Northside Drive.
Right.
And I was a church business administrator there, and I handled the business affairs of the church. And so my life, as far as I thought it was pretty good, pretty decent. I didn't have any problems or anything, no more than anyone else does. And I was enjoying my children, all 3 of them. Lexi, we call her Lexi B, but Lexi's life as a young adult there were a lot of hills and valleys to that. And so part of my life, at least during that time, was dealing with some of the hills and valleys of my baby. And she had a lot of struggles. She had issues with her self-identity, sexual identity. She had problems keeping a job. She had a little baby at the time. She was 3 when she was murdered, so she had a baby she was trying to take care of. And so a lot of our life was filled with whatever her life looked like. So if her life was chaotic, then the rest of our lives were, because we were always trying to fill in the need, wherever the need was.
Right.
And but overall, this was my child, just like every parent, that has goals and desires for their children. I was the same way, and so I was just being a mom, hopefully trying to be a good one and a grandparent at the time.
Yeah.
Trying to live my best life now. But yeah, that's what was going on. I was working and full-time job and all that good stuff.
A lot of stuff. And so I just wanted to bring it back to your nonprofit here. I know burnout is common in a field of work like yours. So how do you make sure that you're in the right mental space, carrying the burdens that you have, while also being able to maintain and foster those relationships with families that have also lost somebody to homicide?
A lot of people ask me that, how in the world do you carry these type burdens of other families? And I tell you that it's been 5 years, so there has been some growing in that. Because every family doesn't feel the way that I do, right? Every family hasn't forgiven the people responsible for the heinous crimes that these people have committed. Every family doesn't have the same belief that I do, And so the way that I handle them is through love. My desire is not to come as this big spiritual leader that's taking them from wherever.
Right, exactly.
My desire is to love them well, and that's basically what I do. If anybody want to know what I really do, is I do my very best to love people well. I don't have, I don't think a pattern that I use. It's just whoever comes, I just want them to, first of all, know that I get what they're experiencing, and then I care, and I genuinely care. I know there are a lot of people that are, have nonprofits or organizations or whatever that motives are different from mine. Mine is just, number one, I want to please the Lord.
Can you say that again, Miss Felicia? Hold up. She just said something that y'all need to listen to. Can you say that again?
I know there are a lot of organizations that have motives that are different from mine.
Okay, that's what I wanted you to say.
And my number one is when I go home and lay down, I want to be able to sleep well, knowing that I've done as though I'm doing unto the Lord.
That's right.
I want to be able to rest, and that's how I just love people. I meet people where they are. I just do my best to kind of just love them well, and that genuineness, I believe, you don't have to teach it to anybody. I believe you know it.
Right.
You automatically just know whether or not I'm a genuine person, and whether or not I really, really desire for you to heal, and desire to know you, know about you, to walk this road with you, to be present in your life. And part of what we do is just getting to know who their family is, what their life is like, because you can imagine if you have a life, like my life.
Right.
I'm just going about living my life,
right.
And then this thing called homicide happens, and so it affects every other part of my life, and it's hard.
Wow.
To get up in the morning and put one foot in front of the other. Right. We as a world continue to move. We just keep moving. We don't, you lost your baby in March 4th. You should get over it by now. Go and get you a job and do all this kind of stuff. But I tell you, it is hard getting up in the morning, putting one foot in front of the other. And I know that. I know that by my own experience. I have one mom who's lost 3 of her children to murder in this city. And how can we as a community expect her to be her life to be normal?
Right.
Because she has 3 anniversaries, right?
Wow.
3 death anniversaries. She has 3 different birthdays.
Wow.
She has 3 different everything that pertain to her 3 children.
3 children.
And she's seen 3 different horrific crimes to her children. She's seen that with her eye. And for a community or people to think that she's supposed to still be able to function as a quote-unquote normal adult,
right?
I don't get that. So a lot of what I do is just caring and not forgetting. One of the things that Grant Me Justice desires to do is not forget. We do our very best to keep up with the dates of when families have been killed, so that we can remember. We can pray during these times. We can send out a group meeting and say, y'all, we have 2 families just did it this past week. We had 2 families that lost children during September, so that everybody will know, be praying for them because it's hard. It's really hard.
Right.
Hope I answered your question.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
we're going to take a break right quick. And when we get back, Zion will get back into the questions. So we will be right back after this short commercial break. Thank you. Good evening. This is James Hopkins, and this is Your Words, Your Voice,
where we talk about what matters. From leaders making change to moments that connect us all. Every voice has a story worth telling. Your Words, Your Voice with James Hopkins, where conversations build community.
I'm James Hopkins. I'm the host. And on this podcast, we're going to be talking about all types of things. We're going to be talking about church, school, community. We're going to be talking about politics and crime.
Join the conversation. Subscribe now.
Advertise on WeBelieve.Global, a brand new digital media platform. Share your brand with our audience on our many global live stream TV broadcasts and over the radio. For more info, visit WeBelieve.Global or call 800-492-5186, option 1.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, Keepers of the Knowledge for People Who Speak the Truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippilink.com and click on Home Delivery.
All right. We're back with Mr. Zion Washington and our special guest, Miss Felicia Marshall, the Miss Felicia Marshall, the award-winning Felicia Marshall, the author Felicia Marshall. Take it over, Zion.
All right, so Miss Marshall, I noticed you wrote a book. It's called Grant Me Justice, and it kind of just talks about your journey from murder and mourning to mercy and dancing. And so with that stated, what was the hardest part of writing this book?
I think the hardest part was reliving the hard parts, and which in the book I really wanted to tell people about my daughter. I didn't feel like she mattered during the criminal justice process, so I wanted people to know about her, and I also wanted people to be aware of the brokenness of the criminal justice system. And so when I began to tell her story, then I knew that I had to tell mine because ours were kind of intertwined. So the hardest part was the days that I would have to write about the murder or difficult days that maybe she and I had. There were days that I cried through that part of the writing, and then I would have to leave it and couldn't go back for weeks. It took me 2 years to write this book, and it doesn't take everyone that long, but it took me that long because there were some really, really parts of my life that I hadn't revisited over time. And so going back, telling Lexi's story as well as mine. And there are a lot of things. I'm very transparent in this book, telling about my life and some of the things that occurred as a child for me. And so those parts were very, very hard. But I'm grateful that I was able to get it out. I think it was some healing in that, even healing some parts of my life with Lexi, because there was a lot of struggles in that with me trying to figure out whether or not I was a good mom. I wanted to know whether or not I loved her well, because there were some times I had to tell Lexi no, I'm not coming to get you, no, I'm not giving you any money, those type of things. And so in that, I wrestled with whether or not I was a good mom. And even, like I told you guys, I was a believer. When Lexi was murdered, I was, quote unquote, a super Christian. Believed in all of these different laws, dotting the I's and crossing the T's kind of thing. And I think I mothered her, especially during the moments when she struggled with her sexual identity. And that was a big struggle for us and me. I didn't know what to do with it, number one. I didn't know what to do with it. And all I thought was, we just going to pray this thing away. Let's just pray whatever this thing is away. And so part of the book is wrestling through that and acknowledging the fact that I may not have been a perfect mom, but I did the best that I could with what I had to work with. I mothered her from my own pain. And so that's what the book is about.
Well, it seems to me that it's more than just a book, but more an experience and a plethora of emotions that were put into everything that you've experienced. And so I just hope everybody listening takes the time out. It's called Grant Me Justice, and it's one of those books where I feel like it's more of an entry log than just something that we're telling a story about. And so I thank you for sharing that. And so I just want to get into the next question here. So for readers who haven't experienced grief like yours, what do you hope most people will walk away when they read your book?
The book, like I said, my book contains a whole lot of stuff about my journey. As a human being, I had a very, very hard childhood. And but I think my childhood kind of helped me with my journey through the grief process. Now, if I wanted to tell someone something about grief is to allow themselves the space to grieve however they see fit that they need to grieve. Many times when we lose someone, people tell us, don't cry.
Right.
Don't get over it.
Right.
God don't make no mistake.
Right.
He plucked one of his flowers.
Right.
One of his flowers.
Right.
All
Right.
of those things that we hear. And I would just, one of the most powerful things that was told to me was my brother-in-law, who's a pastor. He told me, laugh when you can laugh and cry when you need to cry. That was the most powerful thing for me. It gave me permission to not feel guilty when I was laughing,
Right.
and also permission for me to miss my baby, to, if I need to go out in the field and cry, then let me have my peace so I can go out and cry and miss my baby. So if I was to give anyone any advice in regards to losing your baby, there is no time frame on losing your baby. Grief is a measurement of your love for your children or your loved one, whoever it is. Right. And grief just shows up. You don't sit up one morning and say, well, I ain't gonna grieve today. Because grief just shows up. It is a measurement of your love. And I love my baby. I love my baby deeply. And so I'll be grieving her for the rest of my life. Right. And I don't want to stop grieving her. And I don't want people to stop grieving her because I miss her. And I don't think the world is the same without her. But so if I was going to give someone any advice about grief, is just allow yourself to go through the waves. And there are waves. One day you come in and you're fine and you can laugh and you can talk. And then tomorrow you're falling to pieces. But it's okay. Fall to pieces. And then get back up and start off back off again.
And that's definitely true, because a lot of times when we first go through it, we want people around us to help us get through. But then there are also those times where you just want to be to yourself so you can let it out, so you can cry. And then, again, it's an ongoing process. It doesn't end, the next week or after they're in the grave. It doesn't end the next month or the next year. It goes on and on and on. And it never stops, So, again, I appreciate what you're doing, how you're reaching out to other families, even the fact that you were strong enough to actually write a book and relive it all again. We all are going to die eventually, but it's something about that homicide, and especially when you have a young, vibrant person, who's going day to day, and you just don't see death in their future. And then to have their life just snatched away like that, it does a lot to you, So, I salute you. I was in Alabama, I think it was the beginning of this year. Was it this year?
Latter part of last
Receiving an award, for the work that we do in Reset Jackson. It was from No More Tears. They're based out of Buffalo, New York, and they had a banquet in Alabama. So we received an award for the work that we do with Reset Jackson. And, that was a big deal, to be nationally recognized. But I also saw you there receiving an award. Tell me about it. Tell me about the experience.
Campbell is the one that nominated me for that, which I was surprised. I think I was surprised because I've gotten a couple of things, but I don't do this for rewards or awards, and I'm just mindful of that. There's only been a couple of things that the media has even been invited to in regards to what we do. I'm not trying to do it for that. It did feel good to be awarded. But yeah, Sherry Campbell is the one that nominated me, Grammy Justice, and I didn't even know I was on her radar.
Right.
But yeah, very appreciative of it and appreciative of her and what she's doing. Sherry is this.
Right, Sherry does a lot. Sherry is actually one that nominated me also. So she's back from New York to Chicago to, I think she's in one of the Carolinas, back to Mississippi. She's all over the place trying to bring people together that's dealt with that because she lost her son, to crime in Jackson. So, I was pleased to see you there. That was actually my first time.
Yeah, I think that was the first time
seeing you and meeting you in person. But you have an advocate in Chantel Giles, Chantel Johnson, Dirty Red, Snake, everything she goes by. You have an advocate in her that is solid, and she will not speak about anything dealing with losses without speaking your name, and I think that says a lot that you touch her, because of what she's gone through, and you touch her so much, and she's always advocating for Grant Me Justice. She's always put your name out there and put your name out there. So shout out to Chantel. I think she's watching right now. I can't see that far. Even with my 4 eyes, I can't see that far.
We met right here.
You and Chantel met here?
We met right here. I had a podcast. And we met right here. That was my first time laying my eyes on Miss Johnson. And I had been talking to her on the phone, and she sounded totally different on the phone than she did when I saw her. I think I was expecting an old lady or something.
Right.
And I was like, you don't look like the person that's on the phone. But Miss Johnson's, Chris's funeral was the first funeral that I went to in regards to families of Grammy Justice.
Okay.
His was the first one that I went to, and we've been locked at the hip since then.
Okay.
And they say that she's the hype man or woman for Grammy Justice.
Look, she puts in work when it comes to putting Grammy Justice out there. Miss Felicia Marshall. I don't care about them other ones. Miss Felicia Marshall real. I don't know about the other ones. Miss Felicia Marshall real. And she does it. Look, and I've always wanted to meet you, and I just thought it was just something that I never met you here, but I met you in Alabama when we were receiving those awards, and I'm just so thankful that you agreed to come on this show, because I think your story is a story that has to be told, and I think there are a lot more families out there that should reach out to you, but don't know anything about, Grant Me Justice, and hopefully, after tonight, we can make that happen.
Yeah, and what we try to do is, and I've never been one, just out here just trying to get a bunch of people to be
right.
I want people to come that really, really desire to heal holistically. And I tell people all the time, just come to one meeting. You don't have to stay. Just come to one women's meetings are first Tuesdays and men's are fourth Wednesdays. Just come to one meeting. If you don't like it, you don't have to stay. But if this is who, and I always say whoever God sends our way, because whoever he sends, we want to be able to love them well.
Right.
So if we got 100 people, there's no way that I can love them well. And it's whoever he adds to the fold.
Right.
And I'm just grateful, and I don't take that lightly. I believe that when whoever he sends, that he's sending them to me.
That's right.
And I don't play about these people
Right.
that the Lord has sending to me. And so I love them so much, and I know they know that. But I love them so much. I want to also mention that tomorrow we're having the candlelight visual for families that have been impacted by homicide. This is a national day of remembrance for homicide victims. And this is our third year doing it. This year we're going to be at the state capitol and want to invite all families to come out.
And what time is that going to be?
It starts at 6 o'clock.
6 p.m.?
I should be.
Oh, no, I'll be at work. Okay.
I'll probably be at the Capitol at that time, so I'll stick around.
Okay. All right.
I was gonna say, so is there a chapter or passage in your book that even still reading it today gives you a strong emotional response, and why?
Let me see. I think it's my book, so I just think the whole book is a wonderful piece of work. But
Right.
The Fabric of Life talks about, the Fabric of Family talks about my family, and it talks about my grandmother. It talks about my mom and her difficulties as a single mother, and how, being an adult, being able to appreciate her as a single black woman raising 3 children on her own. My mom was abused, physically abused a lot, and we had to watch that. And I didn't have an appreciation for her until after she died. And so some of that is in there where I talk about, how she must have felt when she got up in the morning and saw her eyes black and, all of that. So I think my writing kind of takes you on a roller coaster. There's some comedy in it, and then there's some hard parts in it. So I love being on my grandparents' farm. I talk about that. And then I talk about some of the hard parts with my mom and the things we had to see. Talk about the criminal justice system and the brokenness of that and what we think it is and what it's not. And then I also, at the end of it, I talk about Grant Me Justice, about some of the families that I met when Grant Me Justice first started and the work that we're doing and that kind of thing. So I think it's a good read. Yeah.
So where can people get this book?
It's on Amazon. It's at all of your local book, wherever you buy a book, it's there. There's not an Audible version. People have been trying to get me to do an Audible version. I haven't done that. But it's at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, all of the places where you purchase books.
Okay. All right. Y'all heard that now. Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, everywhere where you can purchase a book. I'm going to get my book. I challenge y'all to get a book too. Look, and when you get that book, post it. Post your receipt. Post your book. Post it to my page, and we're gonna flood Miss Felicia Marshall with receipts that y'all out there purchasing her book. Now, don't let nobody else buy it and then you borrow theirs.
I think
it's
Amazon
not the
has
same.
it on sale, but they did have it on sale.
Okay, look, Amazon may have it on sale, so y'all go ahead and get it. Pay for it with Afterpay, and you ain't even got to pay the whole price at one time. All right? Get that book. Go ahead.
I was going to say, in turning your tragedy into a mission, what advice would you give to those that are also trying to embark on a similar journey and turn their pain into purpose? What advice would you give them?
I think that if it had not been for Grant Me Justice, because I think about it all the time, where would I be? What would I be doing if it had not been for Grant Me Justice? I don't know where my life would have been. I think I've taken the focus off of me and turned it into seeing other people. And I think that has been part of my healing process, is being able to see. Like I said, when I'm in the room with Miss Chantel Johnson, I count it a privilege and an honor to be in her presence. And when I'm in the presence of any of the men, and when we have a men's component now that's really, really rocking right now.
Okay.
But when I'm in the presence of these people who have lost not only their children, have a family that's lost their mother, to gun violence in the city.
Wow.
We have family that's lost a small child, and to hear them, like I said, mine didn't seem that bad, but I'm just feeling it, just an honor to be in the room with them. And I would suggest that if there's anyone that the Lord can use these devastating moments in our lives, and He can really turn them into something beautiful. I was working on something today, and He'll turn those ashes into beauty. I really believe that those grieving ashes, God can turn them into beauty.
Well, I noticed. I don't. Again, you say you don't invite the media to a lot of your events, but I noticed that you're careful about what organizations you also work with. You know, and I guess since I've been in it, I've always been trying to bridge the gap with different organizations. But in doing that, I've also found out that that's not a good idea to work with every single organization, because again, like you stated earlier, some of them just don't have that same,
Strong why.
strong, right, exactly. Some of them it's solely about the money. Some of them is solely about the recognition. Some of them, like mine, it's about change, about really helping somebody and making change. How do you pick what organizations you work with? Because I'm just trying to put you on the spot here. I would love to work with you, partner up with you one day with Reset Jackson. But how do you pick the organizations that you will and won't work with?
I don't think it's necessarily me picking them. I think it's them not picking me, picking me.
Okay.
But here's the deal with me. I don't attach to organization or people for money.
Right.
I don't attach to organizations and people for, just to be a part of the clique.
Right.
I believe that God is the one that's behind Grant Me Justice, and
Right.
because I don't have to do that.
Right.
I just let the Lord lead me wherever and whomever.
Right.
I don't have to attach to things just to move up the ladder. I don't have to do that. Although I love people, and I would love to. There's a lot of people that I don't mind working with, but people
Right.
don't want to work with me.
Right.
Some people don't, just don't want to work with me, and I can't. Several years ago, well, it's been like 3 years ago. I was riding, and I was kind of concerned that. Certain organizations either saw me as a threat or did not want to partner with me because of whatever reason.
Right. I can tell you why. In the words of Chantel, here's another one for you, Chantel. In the words of Chantel, Miss Felicia don't deal with them profit margins. Miss Felicia real. She don't deal with no profit margin. So if a profit margin call her, she ain't working with them. That's what's going on, right?
No, I wouldn't put it like that. But this is what the Lord told me.
Okay.
He said, I want you to put blinders on. He
Okay.
said, you're in a race. And he said, just like a horse is in a race, they put blinders on the horse so that he can't look to the left and he can't look to the right.
Okay.
Because he has a race to run.
Wow.
And he said, I don't want you to look to the left nor to the right. I want you to look at me.
Okay.
And so that's all it is
Okay.
that I'm not trying to be hard to work with or none of
Right.
that. I just have blinders on. I'm going to have a race that the Lord has called me to. He's called me to these people.
That's right.
God is going to ask me one day, I sent Miss Johnson to you.
Right.
How did you handle her?
How did you handle it?
And so I wanted him to be able to say, well done,
Well
my
done.
good and faithful
There
servant.
you go.
You've been found faithful over small things. I'm going to make you ruler over much.
That's
and so
right.
that's how I live my life. And
Okay.
and it's not, that's just it. That is the reason.
Okay.
And I there are a lot of people and organizations that I've actually worked with.
Okay.
And Grant Me Justice, we've been funded solely by individuals.
Right.
That has brought Grant Me Justice. It's going to be 5 years, and that's just a blessing from the Lord. That's nothing that I've done. That's just God laying on the hearts of people to give to this mission that we have. My goal is not necessarily to be favorable in the city. My goal is to love these people.
Right. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. This brings us to the end of this wonderful episode. And look, it's so good. I wish we had another 30 minutes to go, but maybe we can talk into coming back next season. closing remarks, thoughts, Zion?
Absolutely. I mean, just kind of like what Miss Felicia Marshall was saying. Grief is a measurement of your love. There is no time limit, and if you need to cry, when you need to cry, you need to let it out. If you laugh, don't feel guilty for enjoying the small moments in life that, may take you away from the victim that you may have known personally. But it's also important to remember that you are still human. We are all in this together, and the Lord is watching over us. So, like I said, thank you, Miss Marshall, for sharing such a beautiful testimony, and not only sharing it, but turning it into something that allows other people to flourish and grow through their grief, because that is not something that you see too often. And I just want to give a special shout out to anybody that have a family member or a relative or a friend that was a victim of homicide, and you are heard, you are cared about, and it doesn't have to define who you are. And so that's all I want to say.
All right. Ms. Marshall?
They can check us out at www.grammyjustice.org, and they can find out all of the information that they need in regards to the resources that Grammy Justice do provide. We would love for you guys to come and just take a look and check us out and see what we have going on. And we would love for you guys to come out for the candlelight vigil tomorrow.
All right. And again, that's going to be at
The State
Capitol.
State Capitol at
6
6 p.m. If you can get there, get there. It'd be wonderful. I'll be at work. I won't be able to get there, but I'll definitely send prayers and hope someone would do a prayer for my family, for my sister that passed away, Miss Doris Shavers. My closing remarks. First, I want to thank Miss Felicia for coming on. I hope I can call her Miss Felicia. You know, that's all I've been introduced to her as, is Miss Felicia. It's hard losing a loved one, just period. But, losing one to gun violence and any type of violence, it kind of stacks the deck. And I speak about it from experience. A lot of people talk about it, and, and we pray that nobody has to go through it, but we also know that, this is life. You got somebody right here. You got somebody right here. You got somebody right there, that you can always reach out to, that understands the struggle, understands the pain. So I just want to say, don't die with them, Reach out to someone. And there have been times, not with my sister, but, with a recent passing. Sometimes you want to just go with them. And the pain is so hard, and you feel like there's nobody you can talk to or nothing you can do, and you end up in a bad spot. So I just want to say to anybody out there that's going through something right now, find somebody to talk to. Don't die with that person, because that's not your plan. That's not God's plan for you to just die with them. Reach out to somebody, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to just lay in the middle of the floor if that's what you want to do. But do whatever it takes to get through whatever stress or pain you're going through. And I just want you to know that I may not know you personally, but I love you, because God loves you and God created you. So that's my thoughts on that. I want to move ahead to next week. Next Wednesday, I will be a part of the grand opening ribbon cutting for the Mississippi State Fair. This will be my third year invited. I'll be doing an opening prayer. So I want y'all to come out. It opens at 11 a.m. I want to thank Commissioner Andy Gibson for inviting me out again. Whatever we know about him or think about him, I want to thank him for inviting me out again to be a part of this illustrious event. It starts at 11 a.m. You can come out if you're not working, if you're not doing anything, bring your kids out. It's going to be free. We're going to do the ribbon cutting. Everybody gets in, walk around, get your food or do your rides or whatever. There's no fee for it. Also, my guest next week is Mr. Joseph Holliday. This is a man that's been from the penthouse to the big house to the outhouse. but he's helping people, and he's making a big impact, a huge impact in the city of Jackson, in the city of New Orleans. This guy has a story to tell. His name is Joseph Holliday. His organization is No Greater Love. I want y'all to tune in next Wednesday as my guest would be Mr. Joseph Holliday. Until then, I want to thank my producer, the wonderful Miss Amanda. And I know her name, so don't nobody try to confuse me on it. Miss Amanda Jones, we going to do this thing till we see you next week. I'm James Hopkins signing off with my co-host Zion Washington and Bully, 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 Bully.